Welcome into another edition of Who Is Real in Deadwood. This is part 4. Deadwood was an HBO series from 2004 and 2006 and one of the best historical shows ever made. The first character we're going to explore is none other than Wyatt Herp. Of course, Wyatt Herp is a real person and is one of the most recognizable figures in Wild West lore. Herp is best known for taking part in the shootout at the OK Corral and the subsequent Vendetta ride. Acting as a federal marshal, Herp took a month-long search for the killers that murdered his brother Morgan. Herp deputized several less-than-savory characters and went after the Clanton gang and their associates. In the end, the Herp posse killed 4, including Frank Stillwell, Florentino Cruz, Curly Bill Brocious, and Johnny Burns. But what did Herp do in Deadwood? In the show, he appears in town with his brother Morgan and are investigating a recently purchased logging outfit. Their appearance took place roughly 6 years before the Vendetta ride and Morgan's death. Morgan specifically gets into a heated exchange with one of George Hearst's Pinkerton agents by putting a bullet in the agent's leg. In the show, they build up tension, and I personally thought that the Herp brothers would side with Bullock and Swearingen in their feud with George Hearst. However, Bullock told them firmly that they should get out of town due to the incident and the likely demise of the Herps and their timber lease because of the attack on Hearst's men. Wyatt and his brother Morgan did end up going to Deadwood in real life. They left from Dodge City in September of 1876. They had met Bat Masterson, another Wild West legend in Dodge City. Masterson told him that Deadwood was extremely overcrowded and it may not be worth checking out. Herp claimed that he would take his chances prospecting gold in the Black Hills. Morgan did not stay in Deadwood very long and left Wyatt that same winter in 1876. Wyatt would end up staying through the spring of 1877. One of his other schemes was to mine the drunk gamblers at the Deadwood gaming tables. Instead, he stated that he did not have much time for gambling as he took a job hauling lumber 7 days a week. Herp left later in the spring of 1877 when the quote, spring cleaning occurred. The spring cleaning refers to a major shipment of gold from the Black Hills to Banks and Cheyenne. Wells Fargo called for well-armed and experienced men to come act as guards for the shipment. Wyatt joined the Wells Fargo stage and made his way to Cheyenne. Wells Fargo paid for his fare on the stage and threw in an extra $50. Later in life, Wyatt Herp stated that some of the best gunmen in the West were in Deadwood. It's not believed that he ever returned to the Black Hills after this. Our next character is Dan Dority. Dan was Al Swearingen's most trusted bodyguard and confidant. In one episode, it is stated that Al Swearingen and Dority worked together to personally fell lumber and build the infamous Gem Saloon. The Gem was the headquarters of Swearingen's criminal empire. In one of the most famous moments in the show, Dority went face-to-face in a brawl with Captain Turner, one of George Hearst's bodyguards. The fight is one of the best fights I have ever seen in any movie or show. It was dirty, brutal, and feels very real. Dority defeated his rival but was deeply shaken after the fight. There are several moments during the series that show that Dority is not a stone-cold killer and has somewhat of a conscience. He is instructed to eliminate a young surviving victim of a brutal robbery, an attack on her family in the first season. The girl would be the only victim that could point to Al Swearingen's highwaymen in the murder-robbery scheme. Dority can't bring himself to do it and visibly struggles with the morality of the potential murder and his loyalty to Al. This constant fight with morality and his conscience shows Dan was a gentle but very dangerous giant when he had to be. His character shows why Deadwood had some of the best character development of any show of all time. But was Dan Dority a real person? There are records of a Dan Dority living in Deadwood in the 1880 U.S. Census. It is believed this person was born in Maine in the early 1850s. It's also believed that he was the manager of the Gem Saloon. There were also accounts that state he was a lot meaner than his character even portrays. Apparently, he did not treat the women of the saloon very kindly and would take his liberties with them. While his character seemingly had a softer side, the real Dan did not. What is unknown is if he was involved in Al Swearingen's criminal empire, but it can be assumed that he played at least a small role. At some point, Dority did end up getting married in Deadwood and left after 1880 to move to Nevada. Both of these characters were just two more of who was real in Deadwood. Wyatt Herp, of course, is one of the most recognizable figures in American history. Dan Dority was one of the best characters in the show, but may not have been one of the best people to meet in real life. Check out parts 1 through 3 of this series, as well as my Who Was Real of Vikings edition. Thanks again for watching this episode from Everything Has History. Please like the video and comment your thoughts on these 2 Deadwood characters. And I'll see you on the next Everything Has History.